I know you're rather rushed for for time, and I'm really grateful for the 30 minutes that you created for us, carved out from your busy schedule.
My pleasure. My absolute honor to be with all of you.
Thank you. So everybody has read your book. Some of them even went and read the second one, which is Influencer. And I thoroughly enjoyed reading it, as much as I enjoyed reading The Go-Giver.
Thank you.
Brilliant. So we'll have everyone sort of, how we plan to do it, run it as a Socratic discussion, Bob. So we'll have someone start the conversation, share who they are and introduce themselves, and then, have a question that they won the inquiry of when they read your book. And then, we go around the room. Does that work for you?
Perfect.
Thank you, Bob. All right. Who'd like to begin from the brave hearts?
I can go. Hi, Bob. Thank you for taking out the time. Great book. Really enjoyed reading it. My first question is, actually, it's a two-part question. I'll just say it both together.
Tarun, you want to introduce yourself first and then ask the question?
Sure. So, Bob, this is Tarun again. I fund early-stage startups in India in the tech venture ecosystem.
Great to meet you.
So the question I have is, how does one actively inculcate an abundance mindset? And this comes especially from the context of India, where I think a lot of us are...
Is it only me?
No, we can hear Tarun.
We can hear. Oh, you can. Okay.
Yeah, and I think the Jyoti, I'll just repeat for you. How does one inculcate an abundance mindset? And this is especially in the context of India, where I think a lot of us are just culturally brought up with a scarcity mindset. And so how does one, what are there any tips that you have in terms of, how can one actively sort of build on that and change that? And the second part of that question is, I've noticed, and I may be completely wrong, that a lot of people become more magnanimous and generous once they're actually successful. Because somehow that scarcity mindset has been extinguished, right? So how does one know first, what came first? Did the generosity and magnanimous, lead to success, or the other way around?
Okay, so let me answer this. Let me answer the second one, the second part first. I think it only seems that people become more magnanimous as they have more money. And the reason why is because they have more money to give. And so you hear more about them. People who don't have as much money obviously can't give as much, so we don't hear about them. So I really think that having more money simply makes you more of what you already are. So if you don't have a lot of money and you're naturally a generous person, and then you begin to make more money, I think you become even more generous because you have more ways. I think what money does is it helps you live your values. Okay. So let's say, for example, somebody would like to travel a lot and they're poor. Well, they can't travel a lot. They don't have the money to travel, but now they're wealthy. Well, that money helps them to travel a lot. If that travel is a high value, if traveling is a high value to someone, the more money they have, the more they can travel. Let's say education and knowledge is a high value to someone, but they're poor. Well, obviously, they can't invest as much in knowledge and learning and schooling and doing all these things. Well, then they have money. What do? They take that money, they put it into something they find to be of value. I think if someone is charitable by nature and then they have more money, they get even more charitable, or they have more money in which to fulfill that value of charity. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So now the question that you ask, and I love this question, how do you inculcate an abundance mindset? Now, you say especially in India, but I've got to tell you something. It's everywhere. Everywhere there is the world gives us horribly negative messages about money, about prosperity, about abundance, about business. It's everywhere. Now, it may be more prevalent just because there are more people in what have you in some way, or because, for many years, it was very much, I think, a socialistic type of political landscape where in socialism does cause poverty. It just does. And so as India has become much more entrepreneurial in a sense, and so forth, there's a lot more people making more money, and yet it's a big country, and so you still have the mindset. Well, but I got to tell you, in the United States, there's that poverty mindset. People look at at millionaires and say, "Oh, millionaires, they must be evil, or they must have done something wrong, or stepped on someone's toes, or done something illegal." Well, there's all sorts of people, so of course some have done bad things in order to make their money. But the degree that no one is forced to do business with someone else, okay, you can only earn a lot of money by providing a lot of value to a lot of people. It's the only way you can earn. But because again, we in the United States, if you watch any of our movies, and my friend Randy Gage, who is an expert on prosperity, brings up this example. And I don't know how it is in India, but I'll tell you, in the United States, our movies, our films, pretty much everyone always portrays two types of people. There are the good people who are always portrayed as being poor and struggling and honest and happy. They're poor, but they're happy. Okay. Now, but they're always being taken advantage of, put down, stepped on, stepped over by who? The evil rich people who will do nothing in their horrible pursuit of money, and they're soulless, and they're right now. Is it the same in India in your movies, or is that just the United States? I don't know.
As much in India.
Okay. It's worldwide. It's just how it is. Whether it's jealousy, whether it's, I don't know, I'm not sure. But the world gives us a very negative. So what we've got to do to inculcate this mindset of prosperity is study prosperity. We're already studying anti-prosperity, right? Because we hear it all the time. We see it all the time. We get it told to us all the time. So that's why I believe that people like Randy Gage, like Bob Proctor, like Ellen Rogan, Sharon Lechter, David Nagel, Ken Honda, these people, they blog about prosperity. They do videos on prosperity. They write books on prosperity. They speak on prosperity. And by the way, 99% of what they speak and write about is all about the unconscious and how we block receptivity. And they talk and they teach us how to dissipate that and how to get past those blocks. So I think what we need to do is really make a study of prosperity and every day study it and realize why prosperity is actually good instead of it being something wrong. I mean, it's so amazing that, how the world works. Human nature, it simply is what it is. There's a good book that was written in 1910, I think, called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. It's a short book, easy read, but has wonderful lessons on understanding wealth and understanding how to create wealth and having an abundance mindset. So, I think all these tools help us to get a prosperity mindset.
All right. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, you going to tag someone then?
Yes. Sorry, I was, I don't know who's the next person.
I'll go next, Tarun. This is Ashish here. Hi, Bob. This is Ashish here, and I take care of a telecommunication company in Sri Lanka.
Wonderful. Great
so,
to meet
Bob,
you.
thank you very much for writing fantastic book. It was completely a mind changer for me. I have two questions. One is about the personal challenge that I faced when I started practicing go-giver attitude. And first thing is, how do you draw a line between what you give to yourself and what you give to other people, and especially in terms of time? Because at times, what you're doing for others comes at the cost of what you can do for yourself, and especially time, as I said. So how do you draw a balance between the two?
Sure. So it's very, very important to understand that there's nothing about being a go-giver that is congruent with being a martyr or being self-sacrificial in any way. Not at all. Being a go-giver simply means you understand that shifting your focus from getting to giving, meaning constantly and consistently creating immense value for others.
So it's very, very important to understand that there's nothing about being
just a second. A recording is getting
congruent with being a martyr.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I thought that sounded familiar. And so it's just understanding that shifting your focus off of yourself and onto others, bringing value to others, is not only a more fulfilling way of conducting business, it's the most financially profitable way as well. And not for any magical reasons, but because it makes sense. When you're focused on others, okay, when you're focused on solving other people's problems and challenges, when you're focused on discovering what they need, what they want, what they desire, when you're focused on helping them get what they want, they feel good about you. They want to be in relationship with you. They want to do business with you. They want to tell others about you. That's fine. And we should always focus on that. However, that doesn't mean that any of that needs to come at your personal expense. It should never come at your personal expense. And we've got to be able to take care of ourselves. We've got to be able to say no to most requests. Because if we said yes to every request, we'd never have time to provide the value that we need to provide to the marketplace and to those we're serving. The difference is that, or the important thing is that when we say no, we always do it in a way that's polite, that's kind, that's tactful, and that honors the other person. But by all means, if you're giving value to others in a way that's harming you, that's not what we mean by being a go-giver. So always kind of question yourself. If you feel as though you're being asked to do something and you don't have the time or the energy, or for whatever reason you don't feel right about it, then no, it's probably best not to do it. And you just let the person know that that I'm honored to be asked. It's not something I'm able to do, but thank you so much for thinking of me.
Thank you, Bob. And I tag Chandan.
Thanks, Ashish. Bob, hi. Hi, Bob. My name is Chandan, and I'm part of a business which is involved in the home market. We make fenestration products, and hopefully we'll do more. So I have an inspired journey, and I must say that your book helps me a lot because I work with an ecosystem where I think in the early journey we have to give more than we are receiving. Here is a question I have for you, Bob. I think this concept of abundance, as you said, has been around for a while. Despite this awareness, Bob, I wanted to ask you that do you consciously live in the anti-go-giver space in your life? That's just the first question. It'll help me relate.
Can you explain that to me? I'm not sure, Chandan, that I understand your question. Do I live in the anti-go-giver space?
Yeah, so I'm saying, does it happen in your life on a daily basis that you are not you're not a go-giver, and maybe you're consciously not? And what could that be? I think the second thing I wanted to ask you is that as you have many people coming in and discussing your book, what is it that is holding people back to be go-givers? If I have to spread this culture, what is that barrier which people really have to overcome?
Well, when we say what keeps people from being go-givers, I think first we have to say, we have to ask, do most people who are introduced to it, do they actively keep from being it? And I don't think so. I think most people, once they're introduced to it and they see it as something that could be beneficial to their life, I think most people look to embrace it. And the reason why is because I think as human beings, most people want to feel as though they're making a contribution to the world around them. You know, we tend to do that through our work, but we also do it through other ways, but mainly through our work, right? And so when we can feel good about what we're doing, when we know we're bringing immense value to others, and we're also able to make a very healthy and profitable living, well, that's a great way to be. So when people see that doing things the go-giver way can help them do that, I think they embrace it. However, and I think it's a great question you asked. If somebody just has a belief, and maybe they've been brought up this way, or these were their business heroes, or they've been watching too much television or movies where they saw the villain as the person who always did well, and they think, well, if I'm going to make a lot of money, I've got to be ruthless, and I've got to be horrible, and I've got to be unkind, and I've got to be well, they're going to probably resist. So I think the biggest thing is when we're teaching people about this and introducing people to the message is to, and this is where having a relationship with this person really comes into play. You know, it's saying to them, you know, I so admire you, you have so much potential. I'm wondering if you'd mind if I shared with you a way that I've come across that has really been a help for me in sort of shifting my focus and helping me be even more successful, which I think, knowing you as I do, it would do the same for you, right? And then introducing them to that reason. But if there's someone who, you know, if there's someone who says, well, but being a go-giver and focusing on others, isn't that going to cost me money? Well, so I would answer the question this way. You know, do you think people are going to buy from you because you want the money? Or are people going to buy from you because they believe they'll be better off by doing so? Well, they're going to say, well, no, of course, they're going to buy because they feel they'll be better off. Well, doesn't it make sense then that the more you focus on them and on discovering what they want, what they need, what they desire, what their goals are, how they will become happier, you know, doesn't it make sense? Those are going to be the people who are much more likely to buy from you. And, you know, and when we do it that way, with it in a gentle, kind way, asking questions and helping them to kind of see, then they're much more likely to, you know, to want to take on those traits.
Thank you, Bob.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, Chandan. Appreciate your question.
I'll tag Deepika.
Thanks, Chandan. Hi, Bob. My name is Deepika. I'm a physician by training. However, I now run a medical scribing company. I really appreciate the book. I felt it was very simple, very honest, and you know, somehow during the reading of the book, we could identify several of our journeys, you know, parts of our journeys with the book as well. So thanks for penning it down.
Thank you, Deepika. I appreciate that.
And my question, I mean, I have a very simple question, is when we're on this journey of becoming from a go-getter to a go-giver, and then I also read the term go-taker, what typical realizations happen at various parts of this journey? And what are the mental makeup transitions that empower one to take up this journey?
Mm-hmm. So first, great questions. First of all, I would say we want people to be both go-getters and go-givers, because a go-getter to us, a go-getter is a person of action. And that's important, because without action, nothing happens. Now, when you're a go-getter, a person of action, and a go-giver, someone who's totally, absolutely focused on providing exceptional value to others, that's very powerful. So we want people to be both go-getters and go-givers, but not go-takers, because go-takers are those people who are just totally focused on themselves, right? It's all about them. They don't care about the other person. It's all about what they can take from this, okay? So now, and you were asking about, is there a kind of a transformation? I mean, I think what happens is people who may not have thought of something like this, they might feel encouraged, because again, opposite of what they've seen on TV and in films and read in the newspaper or seen online, they're seeing, well, wait a second, you mean I can actually be helpful to others? I can do great work for people. I can provide value to others and do really well financially? and they're excited about that. Okay. Now they may or may not totally believe it at first. And remember in the book, in the story, Pindar's one condition for Joe was, it's not a matter of whether you believe it, it's a matter of doing it. Right. He had to do one of the laws every day. And so when people start doing this and they start focusing on others and they see that, wow, this really works. People are much more responsive, which again, we know makes sense because of course people are more responsive when you're doing something with their best interest at heart. But now, so people are responding and I'm making more money, but I'm also feeling really good about what I'm doing. And then, you kind of start to get that, like, wow, okay. So I think that's really what happens.
And a quick question, Bob. Do you think Joe was a real person, or did you meet anybody who was Joe?
So the reason we called him Joe is because Joe is a very common name here in the US. So he was supposed to sort of represent everybody. We've all been Joe, or if a woman, Josephine, although that's not as common a name. Joe is a very common name, Josephine, not as much. But so everybody's supposed to be, the average Joe. There's a saying here, we have the average Joe, right? And so because Joe is just such a common name. So yeah, so while he wasn't a real character, he was the character we all are at certain times. We all began as Joe. At some point in our lives where we maybe were on track in a certain way, but we needed to kind of get a little bit of course adjustment.
Thank you, Bob. I tag Mithu.
Oh, my pleasure, Deepika. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deepika. Joe, my name is Mithun. I had a business of vacuum pump manufacturing in India. It's like around 10 million euros. It was an excellent book, which I read after a long time. And thanks for the book being so simple, so short, that we could get complete time in absorbing the book while we read it. So the first question which I had is in the last sections of the book, it was written that if we are focused on profit, we will probably miss all opportunities to provide great values. Why do you say so? In business, ultimately, the focus is profit, isn't it?
Right. Okay. So let's go back to something. Remember, we said people aren't going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet. Mm-hmm. They're not going to buy because you need the money. They're not going to buy because you are going to make a profit. They're going to buy because they believe they'll be better off by buying than by not buying. So right. If your focus is on the profit, that's not a reason for them to buy, right? If your focus is on them and solving their problems and bringing immense value to them, they're much more likely to buy. What will be the result? Profit. And this is why we say that money is an echo of value. Money is simply an echo of value. It's the thunder to value's lightning, if you will. In other words, the value must be the focus. The value you're providing another person must come first. The value comes first. The money or the profit you receive is simply a natural result of the value you've provided another person. Does that make sense?
Yeah, true. Another simple question, quite a foolish one. You have 3 books. So is there any sequence of reading the books, or anyone can read it part of it?
Yes. Well, so the Go-Giver was the first one. The second one was the Go-Giver Leader. And the third one was the Go-Giver Influencer. However, they can all be read individually, in whatever order. So, but what happens is there's some characters that show up in a couple of different stories and some references to past books. But if you hadn't read the first, like you could start with the last one, the Go-Giver Influencer, even if you haven't read the other 2, it would make total sense. It's just that if you then read the first one or the second one, some things in the third one would make sense. You'd know what we were talking about, but you could read any of them in any order.
And what is your last and recent book, which is going to be out in the market now?
Mine, I don't have any books coming out in the marketplace. John, my co-author, he and his wife, Anna, have written a book called The Go-Giver Marriage, which is another parable. And it will be out next year, I think in April. And so, they bring back some of the characters from the first few books, and it's a lot of fun. I got to read the first draft, the draft of it, and it's wonderful. They did a great job with it.
Okay, thank you. It was really exciting and a lot of learnings from your books. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll give it back to Jyoti.
Yeah. Harsh, do you have a question? Harsh and Shreya?
I don't.
No. Nehal, do you like to come next?
Yeah. Thanks, Bob, for such a wonderful book. It was a very good read, very inspiring.
Oh, thank you, Nehal.
Some of my questions are already answered. So I had one question. How do you know that you are being a go-giver? Because many times we believe that, we are giving, but maybe not enough, or maybe not the right way. So is there a way to hold a mirror to know that one is being a go-giver?
That's a wonderful question. And I think what we need to always realize is that, and again, when we talk about giving, we're talking about giving value to someone else. But what is that value? And what does value even mean? Well, value is the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something, to the end user or beholder. So what is it about this thing, this product, service, concept, idea, information, introductions, whatever it happens to be that you're giving to another person? And the question is it something that they see as being of value? Because as human beings, we all see the world from our own different points of view, and we all have our own likes and our own dislikes, and certain things we find to be of value and other things we don't. And we tend to think that other people see the world the same way we do, and that what we like, they would like it, but that's not necessarily true. So let's say there's someone who enjoys receiving referrals for their business. When you can refer them a customer, that's great value to them. Okay. Someone might like being introduced to people. And if you can introduce them to people, they find that of great value. But some people are very busy and they don't really want to be introduced to people. So if you're making introductions to them, they're not finding that to be of value. You know what I'm saying? So we always want to find out, and we can discover this by researching the person. Sometimes we see their profiles online and it tells us some of their likes and dislikes. We can ask people questions. I love to ask people, how can I know if someone I'm speaking with is someone you'd like to meet, or is a good prospective customer for you? Or, you find out their interests and so forth, and you get to know them over time, and you find out what they value. And it's always, remember, value is always in the eyes of the beholder. It's what they find to be of value. And as long as you're doing that, you're being a go-giver, if you will.
Thank you, Bob.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Brilliant. So is there anybody else has any questions?
Jyoti, one more follow-up questions. Bob,
Yes,
Ashish here again. Just want to know, when did the penny drop for you? What made you write this book?
The Go-Giver?
And when did you realize this concept? Go-Giver. When did you realize about this concept and then wanted to convert it into a book or a parable that you want to take to the world?
What caused me to write the book was I actually had written a book many years ago called Endless Referrals, which was a book on helping entrepreneurs and salespeople who knew they had a great product or service. They knew it brought wonderful value to others, but they weren't comfortable or confident about going out into their local communities and creating the kinds of relationships that would cause people to want to do business with them and refer them to others. And so the book, it was a how-to book. And the basic premise was that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. So it was a how-to book, but I'd always read parables and had thought, well, wouldn't it be great if we could take that basic idea and put it into a story? put it into a parable. So I asked John David Mann, who was the editor-in-chief of a magazine I was writing for, and who I knew even then was a brilliant writer. I asked John if he would work with me on this, be the co-author and really the lead writer and storyteller, because he's so brilliant. And fortunately, he said yes. And so we wrote the book, and we got turned down by 24 publishers, 24 New York publishing companies, before the 25th one, Portfolio, said yes. So that's really how the Go Giver came about.
Thank you, Bob.
My pleasure.
Brilliant. So I know we are 3 minutes now with you. So, we'll conclude the conversation. And why don't we go around the room and each one of you share, what has been your, biggest insight from this conversation and how are you feeling? So let's go around the room. Who would like to begin?
I'll start being the last to ask the question. Thank you, Bob, for a wonderful session. I think one value that I really carry is the last sentence that you made, which is the value lie in the eye of the beholder. I think that's a big learning for me, and I tag Chandan.
Thank you so much.
Chandan, you're mute.
Thanks, Ashish. Bob, thanks again for spending time with us. I think I'm motivated to kind of go to the second book, which is the Go Giver Influencer. So all the best, and keep spreading the theme of abundance in the world. Thank you for that. I'll tag Ashish.
Thank you so much.
Tag Tarun, sorry.
Thank you, Bob. I think my biggest takeaway from today's session, I actually really liked what you said, which is, coming into money or being successful or becoming wealthy, it just amplifies who you really are. It doesn't change who you are. So thank you.
Thank you, Tarun. Thank you so much.
I tag Prabhakar.
Thanks, Tarun. Thank you, Bob, for the wonderful book and taking out time today. I think what I learned from the session was, again, the value lies in the eyes of beholders. So we have to think about the other person's perspective. So thank you so much for that.
I appreciate that. Thank you so very much.
I would tag Mithun.
Thank you, Prabhakar. Thank you, Bob. It was a wonderful session, and I really appreciate this. My learning from this session is, as you said, it's not the focus of profit. It's the focus how we sell our values, how we make the customer realize that he is buying trust from us. Thank you. And I tag Shreya.
Thank you, Bob, for the wonderful session. I'm Shreya, and my biggest learning from this session was that value comes first and money is the product. I tag Nehal.
Thank you, Shreya. I had several learnings. Most important one is that value lies in the eyes of the beholder. And, also that once you have success and money, you are able to just live your values better. So, we better inculcate all those values today. Yeah, I'll tag Harsh.
Thanks. Hi, Bob. Thanks for your time. Biggest learning for me was, understanding that being a go-giver is not being a martyr, right? You have to learn to say no, and it's not about creating value for others by destroying value for yourself. So thanks for clarifying that. Yeah. I tag Aarti.
Thank you. Wonderful session, Bob. What I have picked up is that I think abundance, the more you get successful, more you need to be abundant to give. And that is what I resonated, and also the value creation. And one thing I really liked is that we will buy not because what we buy is when we create value for the customer, right? It's not the profitability mindset that you have, it is the value that you're creating. And I think it even if you're a corporate professional or you are or you're an entrepreneur, it holds true for everyone. And that's what we've learned through also, that if you're an extraordinary service and you create values for the people around that you're servicing, only then it works. So that is there anybody left?
Yeah, Deepika, Aditi.
Hi, I tagged Deepika then.
Thanks, Aarti. Thank you, Bob, for the insightful session. I think the most important takeaway, of course, you completely changed the proverb, beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder for all of us. But I think the one thing that I will always remember is that if you want to move out of the average Joe dilemma, you need to understand that value comes first and money is a byproduct.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. I tag Aditi.
Thanks, Deepika, and thanks, Bob, for your time and the wonderful session we had. My biggest takeaway, along with all the learnings that everyone has shared, is like one should definitely develop a prosperity mindset. So we should be living in that, and I think we are living in today's world. We are living in an anti-prosperity mindset somewhere, and that needs to be developed.
Everyone is done, right? So I'll share my learning with you, Bob. You made what I learned is that prosperity mindset needs to be coached and taught. So I'm taking that on. So thank you so much for your time, Bob. I really am grateful. I know you're hard pressed and you have a lot of requests to come and show up in conversations, interviews, and you created and carved time for us at the end of your day when it would be your dinner time and winding up. So, and I feel real gratitude to you for holding my space over so many years. And, so thank you so much. And I'll see you soon. I'll get in touch. And, the couple of questions I have of you. So I'll reach out to you.
Thank you. My pleasure to be with all of you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Bob. Take care.
Good night, or good morning, rather.
Good night to you.
Good night.